Millie Bobby Brown has done it again by bringing another popular teenager to the silver screen in the form of Enola Holmes, the super-sleuthing sister of detective extraordinaire Sherlock Holmes. Of course, in true Netflix fashion, the original film has solidified its place on the platform's trending page, causing the movie to explode with popularity. But what was life like behind the stage curtain of Enola Holmes? Was it all sunshine and rainbows, or were the actors at one another's throats? Make sure you stick around as we take a deep dive into some behind-the-scenes secrets of Enola Holmes. But before that, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We're giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice, but be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. First, thoughts on Millie. Fans of Millie Bobby Brown are well aware that the teenage superstar has been given quite a hard time over the last few years, with many a critic labeling her as someone who cares very little for the people she works with. At the very center of this controversy, if you can even call it that, is the viral SiriusXM interview where she couldn't help but interrupt her Stranger Things cast members in a way which was described as disrespectful. Whether this attention-hogging attitude of Millie's has been overblown or thrown to the roadside by the young actress, we don't know. But regardless, it seems as if everyone on the set of Enola Holmes absolutely loved working with her. Well done, Millie. It looks like you redeemed yourself once and for all. Henry Cavil, who portrays the role of Sherlock Holmes, was actually asked in an interview to sum up Millie in a few words. He laughed joyously and followed this up by saying, "Wow, wow is one of them." That came out naturally. There is no one quite like her. He then followed this up by commenting that Millie is a strange combination of a 16 and 35-year-old woman, being able to both have fun on set and work with the utmost maturity when this is needed. This stands true to what we've seen on set. We know from her earlier works that Millie is incredibly professional when it comes to the working environment. She held fake blood in her nose and let it drip down while acting out her scenes in Stranger Things, for goodness sakes. But what we didn't know is just how fun the actress can be, as proven by the slew of clips we'll get into a little later. Point is, it looks like Millie has proven herself to be a joy to work with. And hey, if we can't trust a Witcher, who can we trust? Second, 5-second dance parties. There have been some absolute horror stories in the past regarding the treatment of actors and actresses on set, as well as others where the actors or actresses have been the ones acting out against the production crew, excuse the pun. Who can forget that viral clip of Christian Bale shouting at the top of his lungs at the director of photography on the set of Terminator Salvation? Luckily for the cast of Enola Holmes, however, nothing could be further from the truth when it came to the treatment of both the acting class and crew. In fact, it looks like everyone who took part in the project had an amazing time on set. A great example of this can be found in the attitude of Millie Bobby Brown, who took 5-second dance party breaks on the regular, attempting to go supersonic by flossing as fast as she could. The budding actress even tried to get her new best friend, Henry Cavil, to jump in and help her out by collaborating on TikTok. Whether Cavil knows what TikTok is or not is completely up to interpretation, but since we found discovering the video impossible, we assume that he gave her a solid no. Pity. We would have loved to see Superman and Eleven team up to save the day through dance. Third, the matter of broken hearts. Things can't always be all fun and games behind the scenes though, especially since the cast members were encouraged to get to know one another, which resulted in some great friendships. We are, of course, talking about the new relationship between Millie and her bestie Louis Partridge, who portrays the role of Tewksbury in the film. The two got along so well that they continue to talk to one another on and off to this day. In fact, there is a behind-the-scenes clip floating around of the two video calling one another that ended up going pretty viral. In this clip, Millie asked Louis to confirm that he has been heartbroken before, which results in the actor nodding but stumbling over his words a bit. This prompts a very sweet response by Millie, who says, "It's horrible. Everyone goes through it. You've just got to listen to a bit of Taylor Swift, drink a nice cup of tea, and get over them." So wise for someone who is only 16 years old. Maybe that's what Henry was getting at when he said she was a mixture of a 16 and 35-year-old. Wise and sweet beyond beyond her years. Next, the train scene. Many of us loved Enola Holmes for the smart, intricate dialogue, and countless times her deductive skills were put to the test. But what we didn't expect was some high-intensity action scenes. For those of you who have not yet seen the movie, here's a little spoiler alert for what lies ahead, so be wary. One of our favorite scenes was the one where Tewksbury was being held off the train by the thug in the bowler hat, and the thought that immediately came to mind was whether the cast had been asked to do their own stunts, and if not, who this clone stunt double of Lewis was. Well, don't feel stupid now, boys and girls, because it turns out the cast members weren't actually filming this scene on a moving train at all. That's right, the train carriage itself was actually a replica model that had been created in a studio and placed in the midst of a green screen room to allow for the superimposition of the background and the rest of the train. It was, in other words, up to the virtual effects department to make this scene look as dangerous and exciting as it did, so well done to them for fooling us. The question of whether Lewis had in fact done stunts himself was thus answered, although now we feel that we can't really call it a stunt after all. Then there's the mistake that was left in. Speaking of that scene, did you know that Lewis wasn't actually supposed to fly off the door as he did? The scene was supposed to involve Enola grabbing onto Tewksbury and saving his life by pulling him back onto the train. Instead, we saw no Enola when we were supposed to, leaving Tewksbury hanging off the door as it swung outwards against the rest of the train carriage. Good thing this wasn't a real moving train, right? So why did this change? Did the directors think this was a far more exciting way to film the scene? Or did Millie make the decision all on her own? The true story actually came out in that same video call we referenced earlier between Millie and Lewis, where he said to her that he had no idea why she had left him hanging like she did. As it turns out, this was all just a mistake on Millie's part. You see, Millie ended up letting go of Lewis because her finger actually got stuck in the door, and according to her, she actually ended up getting in trouble for letting him fly across the room while holding onto the door. A little bit dangerous? We suppose so, but it sure did make for an amazing action-packed shot. Next, the fighting scenes. Enola Holmes as a story is, in essence, all about a girl discovering who she truly is while finding her way back to her quirky mother. And who better to play her mother than the one and only Helena Bonham Carter? We didn't just get quirkiness from the amazing actress though, as both her and Millie had to dedicate a lot of their time to the learning of fight choreography for those scenes where the two trained against one another while establishing a number of moves. As much as the two trained, however, it must be said that a lot of the fighting was actually outside of their true abilities, which is why the showrunners had to bring some stunt doubles in to get the actual fighting out of the way. That being said, both Millie and Helena were able to tango with one another on a few occasions, which sometimes brought on nightmarish consequences. The one scene that comes to mind is where Eudora and Enola are practicing their fight moves against one another in the open field. In a behind-the-scenes look at this scene, we actually see Millie push Helena a bit too hard, causing her to stumble over her own 2 feet and land on her back. Shame on you, Millie. Luckily for her, however, Helena didn't seem to take the fall to heart, causing everyone on set, including Helena, to burst out into laughter. Last but not least, that window just came out of nowhere. This was not, however, the only time the production team had to try and hold their laughter in on set. Remember that emotional scene where Tewksbury had to essentially leave Enola to fight by herself? He runs up to the window, opens it wide, and looks back at her for what he assumes to be the last time ever, hoping that she will tell him to stay. It is a great moment which shows both Enola's caring side and Tewksbury's love for her. Nothing could ruin such an amazing shot, right? Well, we would have said exactly the same if we hadn't come across the next behind-the-scenes clip, which shows Lewis opening the window and sticking his head outside to check if the coast is clear. When he finally turns his head to stare back at Millie, however, the window pane smacks him hard on the head, leaving the production team to gasp in surprise and Lewis to say ouch. So from dancing to laughing at one another and making friendships that will likely last forever, being on the set of Enola Holmes sounds like one of the funniest experiences one could ever have. That wraps up the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.